I've been working at being more mindful of noticing subtle changes in the landscape, the deer out in the fields, the clouds, and the seasonal slant of the sun. In light of this, I was observing a flock of birds. They were starlings, probably, and they moved in the air like a school of fish. You've seen them, right? Simultaneously changing directions in some grand synchronized dance. I wondered, which one instigates the change that alters the trajectory of the group? Is it the movement of a wing? Is it one bird turning its little head and they all go, yeah? I was mesmerized. And then I looked down, and there was a van right in front of me in the middle of the road, and I put on my brakes, and I had to swerve to not miss this vehicle. Beauty and wonder almost turned to horror in an instant. Really, Linda? Be careful what you put your attention to. Be careful when you put your attention to something. Life often feels like this. All appears to be going well, and then something happens to shake us to our core. We know this, don't we? That life demands that we pay attention. At times, the curtain that provides the illusion that there is order and safety in the world is drawn aside, and we see with horror that we are not always safe. That our lives always lie in some precarious balance between wonder and calamity. I am brought to my knees when made aware of the randomness of my own existence. It is there that fear creeps in the tender spot of not knowing what's next. It is there, too, I think, in this not knowing, where rich creativity, love, and the splendor of the universe is revealed. Can I call this understanding faith? Can I have faith in this not knowing what's next? We Unitarian Universalists do not have an easy relationship with faith. For some, faith is defined as believing something for which there is no evidence. Well, that's not going to go over very well here, is it? Perhaps we should go with it as simply a system of religious belief. This is oversimplified, I think. You might have an uneasy relationship with this word, faith. You might have some history with this word. You might think of faith as an unwarranted trust. You might be reluctant to call your religion a faith. Or you might love this concept and find great comfort in it. In the reading, theologian Rebald Niebuhr tells us, nothing true or beautiful ever makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. This kind of faith for me means accepting all that I do not know and loving it anyway. This is an invitation to live the big open question. It is an invitation to lean into all that we cannot understand. In her book, the Buddhist Elizabeth Mattis Namgyal, she wrote The Power of an Open Question. She explores faith from a Buddhist perspective. She suggests that to live one's faith is like a supplication, a prayer. We supplicate when we do not know what to do, when through deep investigation we have given up hope in an unfixable world of things. When we know there's nowhere else to go. When we arrive at such a point, we find ourselves in a situation similar to that of the Buddha. Buddha traveled to find enlightenment, and everywhere he found suffering. He himself was suffering. Finally, he succumbed to what is known as the middle way, The path walks between extremes of self-indulgence, nothing but beauty, and self-mortification, nothing but suffering. When he finally became exhausted, which is typically what we all do when we reach this point, we're simply exhausted. When he finally became exhausted, he sat with a wide open mind beneath the Bodhi tree. The Buddha's gesture of sitting beneath the tree in this viewless state was an appeal, a supplication to a bigger way of being. What she writes next is what has provided me with a nugget of truth, something in this slippery mess of understanding faith that I could hang on to. She offers that faith is an experience. She suggests that faith is the mindset of living the big open question. Our searching will not bring us a static answer, that's it, forever truth. We don't get that. We don't get that here. Every week it's a new truth. Equally true. Instead, it becomes a way of life that does not reach conclusions about the world. Our expectations about the world are stripped, and we are free then to connect in this bigger way, being without turning away. For me, this is what it means to walk by faith. This struck me because so many times I'm left searching for a response to the question about our denomination. Yes, but what do you believe? Been there? What do you believe? And you're like going through the index card of Unitarian Universalist things in your mind. Well, I believe, yeah. I've been through seminary and I still don't answer that question easily. Yes, but what do you believe? This is like saying, what do you have faith in? I can say, much to everyone's confusion, no doubt, I can say, I stay in the bigger way of being without turning away. I don't turn away. My faith tells me I don't have to. My faith invites me to stay the course, to be curious, to be not afraid, to not let fear win, to wake up, to be in my life in this moment. Don't go back to sleep. This is nearly impossible task, though, isn't it? Especially when the world feels so unsettled. It feels like it's unraveling. Fear is creeping in like a fog in the night, stealing our sense of security. The Syrian refugee crisis, the unrest as the horrors of racial injustice are protested. Terrorism and guns understandably raise the anxiety level everywhere. This has us scared, and the media is feeding off of our collective fear. Let us not stay there. In the parable about the young warrior battling with fear, consider how she faces it head on. She's direct when she asks, "How do I defeat you?" The answer is insightful. Fear tells her, "My weapons are that I talk fast and that I'm in your face. And when you get completely unnerved and you'll do whatever I say, and then I win." Does this not sound like politics right now? Let me get in your face and talk really fast. You won't even have time to think, and you'll be scared. And fear wins. Dear ones, I implore you, don't let fear win. The Buddhist nun from our other reading this morning, Pema Chodron, gives us guidance for this. She writes, "Looking for security, people lie, steal, kill, torture. They do this because of the discomfort. They have nothing to hold on to, and they want security. They want certainty. One of the ways to do this is to divide up the world with our views and our opinions about how things should be and how things are supposed to be. How I think the world should be and how you think the world should be. we hold tightly to these views and opinions. Instead, she offers us an alternative. Face your fear. Leap into your fear, she says, and then the one that's most difficult for me, smile at your fear. Great. Practice as if. The main teaching is that if you stay with fear rather than setting off this chain reaction, fear itself is the vanguard of wisdom. It tells you something. With full acknowledgement of your own fear and vulnerability, you can go in the direction of confidence, gentleness, and my very favorite part, tender-hearted bravery. That's authentic. Yeah, fear exists. Tender-hearted bravery. Being present and open to not just the comfortable part of life, beauty, but also the parts of life that are uncomfortable and unpleasant. We can benefit from being open and receptive to that, to not covering it up. We can appreciate fear as the basis of sanity. There's a reward for remaining in the world, to facing this fear with full-faced honesty. It's called maturity. It's such an unsexy word. I'm mature. I am mature. But this kind of maturity is a growing partnership with the world. So in the words again of Elizabeth Mattis-Nigel, she says, it's more than about the rewards. If you keep this patience of walking life by faith, something may surprise you. As all the extraneous assumptions you have about the world, all the hopes and the fears, and all the exaggeration and denial begin to fall away, you will encounter an unwavering certitude, a strength. This certitude is the wellspring of confidence, intelligence, and creativity, and it will sustain you. And like the great beings of the past, present, and future, you will enjoy a fluid, vibrant, and dynamic partnership in the world. This is what happens when you are present in your life. So what might this look like collectively? Because we're here as a religious faith, as Unitarian Universalists. What do we do with this together? It might look like shoes in Paris. After the Paris terrorist attacks, I felt the collective fear. I felt the world whisper, please let there be peace. Please let there be peace. I know that was in your hearts and on your lips. Please let there be peace. I heard and I saw it around the world, on Facebook, on Twitter, uttered from my own lips. With the Paris climate talks scheduled just 2 weeks after the attack, the French government was reeling to secure the city. The planned protests were banned. What does a faith like ours do? What does the human collective look like when living in faith of the open question, open to horror and beauty? It might look like a protest that became more powerful because people chose to creatively face fear and express a deep love for our planet. It responds creatively. It brings shoes, over 10,000 pair of shoes. They were placed on the square where the protest was to be held. They were lined up in silent solidarity. Pairs of shoes representing the people standing as witness to hopes and dreams for action to address global climate change. Those shoes were standing as something larger than fear. The shoes were as varied as the people who provided them. There were well-worn tennis shoes, boots. There were flip-flops. There were pointy, fancy shoes. I know people who are better dressed than I know what they're called. Even the Pope and the UN Secretary, Ban Ki-moon, provided their footwear in solidarity. The protest acknowledged fear, respected fear, and nonetheless found a means to continue. Faith serves as witness, open to all that is. So here's the thing about faith. We can't fully reason our way into it as much as we'd like to. We require some reverence, some supplication, giving in, recognizing that you do and do not have power over some things and everything. Supplication is a prayer of hope, often in times of great pain. Our faith is a middle way between love of humanity and our understanding of all of us must face fear. Love is the beauty, the violence, the horror, and the middle way is that you are asked to hold these two contrasting truths simultaneously. And when you do not, and when you cannot, for it is rare actually that we do this well, when you feel this teetering, this fear, this unbalance, find your tender-hearted bravery. If you ever doubt that people can make a difference, look this fear full in the face, understand it, and I invite you to turn it on its head. See the acts of compassion. Be the acts of compassion. That's what your faith asks you to do. These may be small or large acts, generous all the same, and they add up. You know that they add up, because in many ways your being in the seat here this morning is a product of that adding up. The gifts of compassion, of wanting community, of wanting to walk the middle way together, balancing better as we hold on to each other, calling out support to each other. So relax a little. Relax a little. We're all in this together. Let me tell you that in your eyes, I see my own pain. In your eyes, I see my own joy, and I see my own humanity, and it's beautiful. We're in this not knowing together. And finally, as UU President Peter Morales reminded us recently in the UU World magazine, you must spend some time in the world you wish to create. You must spend this is your homework. You must spend some time in the world you want to create. I was driving, and again I saw birds. This time it was a big flock of geese, of snow geese. I could see the large white birds with their black wingtips. There must have been about 200 of them winging their way from west to east, not too far off the ground. They're a shy species, so I don't see them too often. I slowed down and pulled over. I took a breath and I watched. This is how I am in the world I wish to create. So take comfort. Live and lean into our faith, the faith of a big open question. The uneasy middle way of living will continue to challenge, exasperate, and fill us with wonder. Have a little faith. The world has not and will not cease being a beautiful place.